Hey guys, it's Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back to view my channel. If you are new here, welcome. But those of you returning back, hey family, Shabbat Shalom, happy Sabbath, peaceful day of rest to those scattered across the 12 tribes, scattered across the entire earth in the four corners, as well as to the Gentiles that cleave along, those of you who keep the laws, statutes, and the commandments. Today I want to do a video not only in lieu to everything that's taken place over this weekend, but the pattern and the cycle that it is that we see exercised throughout the Black community. I'm a firm believer that nothing is a coincidence, and literally everything happens for a reason. I often say that when something happens twice, you really need to begin to pay attention. And the third time is the establishment of a pattern. When we begin to even take a look into generational curses, and we think about the fact that the book of Exodus, the 20th chapter, begins to tell us that Yod-Heh-Wav would visit the iniquities of our fathers and mothers up on the third and fourth generation of those that hate him and do not keep his commandments. Scientifically speaking, and I'm going to drop articles down as always, it is believed that we have 74 generations living on the inside of us. And I may make a video about all of this separately. I don't want to go too deep, but I'm going to, I'll come back and take each of these things and make small videos on it. And so if we have 74 generations living on the inside of us and 3 to 4 generations of iniquities visited upon us, we have to take that 74 generations that our DNA begins to code, replicate. For some esoteric belief systems, reincarnate through our generational curses and blessings. We have to take that number and multiply it by 3 or 4 to see how many years it can possibly take our family, just one family, just you actually, and those who you either seed or carry, to break a curse. I'm gonna say that again. I'm gonna slow it down just a little bit. If scientists say that we have 74 generations living on the inside of us, our DNA, and if the word begins to tell us that the iniquities, which is sin, and when we see in the New Testament, when Yeshua Bar Yosef, who the world calls Jesus Christ, the son of Joseph, or Uheshua Nazri, began to say that in these last days he will say, "Depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I know you not." They say, "Well, I cast out demons in your names." We're going to get into the fact very soon that people will invoke the name and use it in their own belief systems, because there is power in the name. And and so if iniquity, according to the book of John, I believe, begins to tell us that lawlessness is sin. And so if you don't keep the law, you're telling the Most High that you hate him. And you sell out the generations of your family, 3 to 4 generations. And we wonder why we as individuals have so much hell, chaos, and confusion on the inside of us, it's because those 74 times 3 or times 4 generations are on the inside of us. And there's a spiritual warfare. We also have to realize that there are some people that are assigned to your lives by unseen things. And they will use people, places, and things, nouns, to become a verb, action. And when we declare what it is that we are and are not, adjective, we begin to formulate and manifest based off of the frequency. Frequencies are real, it's scientific, it's biblical. Your radio runs on a frequency. When your electricity in this machine, your body, when the frequency is off. This is coming from somebody who suffered severe nerve damage. I know what it feels like for the frequency, for the electricity, for the charges, for the protons and the neutrons, for currents, for weathers to affect your body. Everything isn't spooky. Some things is just common knowledge based on definition. We've allowed the etymology of words and who it originated with to get us further and further and further away from what it is that we are supposed to be seeking after, and that is wisdom. So Black on today, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. Black women, you can listen. A lot of y'all not going to like this, but we have to do ourselves a service by owning up to shameful, bottom of the barrel, scum bucket, predatory, whoremongering, low-level thinking, bottomless pit behaving, sepulchres of death that we have been to some people in our lives at one point or another. We're going to get into some scriptures. Because unfortunately, we've moved away from the principle. Scripture is literally West African, East African, the Levant. When Pangea existed, Hebraic, and for some Hamitic customs. We've moved so far away from our principles. And wisdom has been replaced. And we're going to see how deep wisdom has been replaced. So let's talk, fellas, about the dangers of women. And I'm going to start off by saying this. I am a woman that has been battered just about every which way you can think. I'm a woman that has done certain things behind the scenes. I advocate. I do work. I write books. I host call. I do things, and so I'm not going to go into everything that I do. I just have to, you know how in a book when it has the preface or the preface, I have to preface this and give a disclaimer for people whom have never even sat in the seat that I've sat in as someone who went from being a victim to a victor, and that's my book. I'm gonna drop it down below. So much smarter than I was when that first book came out, which is why I had to do a part two years later. With that being said, in the Igbo culture, under the priesthood of Ephraim, over off the coast of Egypt near the Red Sea, I have a Dada who lives over there, and she has elders, and I gain wisdom from her through them and them through the Most High. They begin to teach very deeply and restore the biblical concepts and the importance of not only repenting of willful sins, but even of the doors and the gateways that were open when you were taken advantage of. And I noticed some people that they go like, oh my God, that sounds like victim blaming. No, this is how you holistically cancel out the doors and the gateways and the portals that were opened up when you were vulnerable, when you were subjugated. Because even though you were forced in the act still took place in and the act in itself was unclean. Which is one day gonna get me into this black women being anti-bath when bathing was part of our ritualistic custom. So a lot of you are walking around unclean and have never been cleansed before outside of being baptized before the age of 20, before the age of accountability. So I'm a hold off. Just have to sprinkle wisdom every now and then. And so when you begin to look at the West African concept of repentance, and we see many formulations of repentance in the word, but it's not everything we've been taught. There are formulas and details on how to unlock the powers of the Most High. And so before I get in these scriptures, I just needed to say those things to make myself abundantly clear. We're going to get into the Sirach. Now, if you know the book of Ecclesiastics in the canon, this is an extension thereof, the books of wisdom. And so when we look into the book of Sirach, this is one of the many apocrypha books that was taken out of the canon. And these books were taken out of the canon for a reason. These books are definitely anti-feminist movements. And when we begin to see the veneration of woman today, if these formulas were given to our men, certain things would not take place. Men would know even more what to look out for. We're going to get into some of the scriptures in the canon. But I want to let you guys know the depths of taking away your instructions. So the book of Sirach, the 9th chapter, advice about women. Don't be jealous of the wife you love. You will only be teaching her how to do you harm. Fellas, that say a lot right there, right? Once you show a woman that you're jealous about her, it goes straight to the ego. Oh, he feel a way about me. Not Mr. Nonchalant. Not Mr. I'm single and I don't owe you nothing. Not him. Oh, he making snide remarks asking if I'm going on a date because I look good. Oh, he couldn't get in contact with me right away. And he told his homie, oh, she always pick up. Be careful what you say around women because we listen to everything, even the best ones. It's an inclination that was placed on the inside and brought out when Eve listened to that serpent frequency and she appeased herself. Okay? Do not surrender your dignity to any woman. Your dignity, your pride, your essence. Now, all in all, I've gone on record by saying I believe that men have higher standards than women. Because more times than not, a man will leave. Maybe we'll pull up some scriptures that begin to talk about the curse of jealousy, though. I think that'd be good. The curse of jealousy. So that you can see what happens when a husband does become jealous. And why, biblically, fornication was always, more times than not, talking about the idolatrous worship that the Israelites gave to pagan deities. Not sex before marriage. That was a Catholic construct. And I'm not talking about or propagating whoredom. We're talking about the etymology and situational concepts of things. When we look at adultery is not a married man sleeping with a single woman. That would be fornication. Because he was stepping outside of that which it is that he made a direct covenant with and became one with. He did not talk about having multiple wives and a concubine, and he humbled a daughter of Zion without making her a second wife or a concubine. Adultery is when a man sleeps with another man's wife, whether he is married or not. And that's a penalty for both of them. So, ladies, contrary to popular belief, we can't do everything they do. It's different penalties, different definitions. Keep away from other men's wives or they will trap you. This is the book of Sirach. So all of this lack of boundaries we see now. I have a male best friend since the age of 12, I believe. And for me, that's always been my best friend. I've never had feelings for him, never wanted him, never crossed the line. But we have boundaries. We barely see each other. We talk all the time via text message. We'll talk on the phone sometime. We'll go to each other for advice, clear, level-headed advice. You're wrong. My best friend was married before. First wife couldn't stand me, and it was puzzling to me because she used to visit my parents' church with him all the time and was so nice. Always kept it cute. Then one day she sent me a very, very long message on Facebook being disrespectful. I didn't disrespect her back. That was that man's wife. I knew the truth would come out in a wash. They divorced. A couple years later, she came and she reached out and she apologized to me. She said, I realized you were really just his best friend. That was stupid of me. I'm like, yeah. But I knew my role and my and who I'm supposed to be. Second wife. I get invited to the wedding with my parents. Everything cool, copacetic. We met everything. Then one day, she tells him we couldn't be friends anymore. And he texts me and tells me, and I literally cried. And all I said was, okay. Simple as that. They're divorced now too. It's important what type of woman you marry. But also, women, it's important how you operate in your marriage and what type of friend you are. And they said, don't be around other men's wives. So all of these couples swapping, what Steph Curry parents, they couple swapped. That's a common thing in certain walks of life. The swingers club. Do we want to talk about how this is Greco-Roman and custom? How this is not Hebraic and Greco-Rome came out of Phoenicia? The religion of the Canaanites? And how they worship, and we gonna get to it. Don't keep company with female musicians. They will trick you. Be well aware of women that are musically inclined. Y'all ever heard of water spirits? I know some of y'all don't believe in stuff like that. You ever heard of Yemaya, the Little Mermaid, sirens, nymphs? You ever wonder about some of the highest ranking witches who have the ability to sing, to pontificate, to oratate? I have a gift when it comes to oration, when it comes to begin to put words together. And it can be very alluring when it's used for misappropriation. The voice of a woman is what set the atmosphere. If we be biblical about the aspect of what a woman is, her fragrance controls, her pheromone controls. This is why there's levels to whoring. It's all not okay. Even though culturally we did see prostitution in the Near East. Some families were so poor that fathers sold their daughters to maintain. Some women were kicked out, battered, and abused. And that's how they made it. I've said this before in another video. The $40 concept is not foreign. Did not Jacob believe he was laying with a prostitute? Because her face was veiled. Do you guys not remember the scene in Aladdin with the 3 veiled women? That was the red light district, darling. This was Near Eastern custom. And alluring can take place. Do we not see the praise and worship leaders who set the atmosphere in churches? And a lot of times it is strange fire. We're going to get into some lyrical breakdown of gospel songs very soon. Very, very soon. Don't look too intently at a virgin, or you might find yourself forced to pay a bride price. So for all of you wicked Israelite men who are looking for young girls fresh out of high school, and all of you low-based women who are assisting them in predatory behavior, telling them to get a virgin so that you can control her and you can break her and you can groom her. There's a price that comes with virginity. There's a dowry price for other women too, because the woman still contributed to the household of her father. So for those of you who are solely basing a woman's worth, we're not going to act like it doesn't diminish and like you're not supposed to have more than one seed in the same garden. I'm not ignorant and I don't promote whoredom. But we're going to talk about the difference between a Rahab and a Delilah. which is why I said it's levels. Because you got some whores who will pretend like they not one, who will make you real comfortable, who to get you real good, and you will know that she's trying to get into you. And you catch yourself slipping because every time you allow her to whisper the frequency that her foremother Eve, the mother of all living, began to mimic. She heard the serpent frequency and she repeated it to her husband Adam. Which is why, men, you have to be balanced on the inside of yourself and get your bass, your drum, your rod of power. Can we talk about it? The phallic and the womb was worshipped and deified for a reason amongst the ancient. It represents, for some cultures, the yin, the yang, and I'm going to talk about other belief systems all the time because we're here to educate. The masculine, the feminine. Chuku, Ocheniki, El, and wisdom. Some say Yahweh and Asherah, and we're going to get into who she is. But it was never male and male or female and female when it came to reproducing and replenishing and creating. You needed both to balance. And so when you begin to look at the woman like Delilah, who will have your head laid on her lap and she will come for your strength, your crown, because he took a vow to be a Nazri. He shaved not his head. No razor touched his head. No wine, no dead carcass. He was etched out from the womb, a child of promise. And he went into a woman whom was not of his people. And he got comfortable in a strange land. And because of that, it was the downfall of a powerful reign. A slick whore, a ladylike whore, a demure whore. Then you have your Rahab, who was possibly a madam, because her house was known. She was a madam. The Israelites found safety in the whorehouse because some whores have street etiquette. They know that if you live by the code, you gotta die by the code. And that if you see some few righteous people that you're willing to cover, because you know that righteous men believe in the law of reciprocity and restoration. A righteous man has the ability to restore and to till the ground. Earth, woman, key in ancient Sumer, because she's T, rib in ancient Sumer, and she comes out of him. So he has the power to recreate and to mold, if he be mirror of his father, who is the potter god. No, I'm not talking about Khnum in Egypt. Let's continue. Do not give yourselves to prostitutes, or you may lose everything you own. Which is why, although it was custom, never wise. See, with Rahab, she gained a husband among the spies because she was willing to risk something and she wasn't asking for anything. Delilah was asking, just asking, just asking, but never, ever giving. So don't go looking about in the streets or wandering around in the rundown parts of town. When you see a good-looking woman, look the other way. Don't let your mind dwell on the beauty of any woman who is not your wife. Many men have been led astray by a woman's beauty. It kindles passion as if it were fire. Don't sit down to eat with another man's wife or join her for a drink. You may give in the temptation of her charms and be destroyed by your passions. That says a lot. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back, taking a quick break. I'm back. So as the book of Sirach, the 9th chapter, was stating, don't get caught up on looks, y'all. Don't. Don't let looks stop you, because some people have depths to them. But a lot of times we enter into relationships just based off of physicality and how it is that it makes someone react. When we begin to look at the power of the black man coming from Adom, red dirt, when he begins to squander his seed and place it in septic ground that's not been toiled, hard ground, stony ground, ground full of pestilence, of unclean things that has not been either set aside with the price, untouched, kept, or whether it's been touched and gone through ritual immersions and fasts and vows and pouring of libations and so on and so forth. Many would like to appear as if they have it all together, but a lot of these scriptures describe what it is that you have sold your generations out to. Let me tell you, men, The power of reproduction is so important that literally whatever that woman worships and that personality that she forms in that child, I'm going to let you know that's what that child more than likely will grow into being. You have someone else, but the mother is the one that's there grooming them. The father comes in for correction and for provision and protection. And of course, you have affection and some conversations, but you all know what I'm telling you. Book of Proverbs, the 8th chapter. Let's see. The book of Sirach, I believe, 25, 17 through 26. A woman's wickedness changes her and neighbors and unintentionally groans bitterly. Any is small when compared to a woman's evil. May she experience a sinner's fate. A talkative wife for a quiet husband is like a sand dune beneath the feet of an elderly person. So a lot of y'all who be like, if my husband don't speak up, I'ma speak up. Ooh, that is so out of order. And society has produced men to be begged when originally, what is he called to be? Alf. That's whom he is supposed to be. Hebraic culture, the Hebrew alphabet denotes that. Don't fall for a woman's beauty and don't long for a woman. And it talks about the talkative women. I know some women who live on the phone. But as women who live with our phones on Do Not Disturb get called toxic? I'm sorry. I enjoy my peace. I enjoy my peace. I pick and choose when I reply. There are only a handful of people who have my phone number. If you exit my life, know that there's a one-way exit. If I allow you to revolve, sometimes it's due to brokenness, sometimes restoration. But those doors don't come back. And it's because we have to be aware that when the Most High begins to sever things, now there is a distinguishment between relationships not working out because of life circumstances or some outside influences, but we have to begin to make some distinguishments and begin to see that a lot of these women lay up on the phone. They always talking about their friends, what they got, what they don't lack, their men, how much money they make, who they sleeping with, spread all their business. If she's not a good friend to her friends, trust and believe, no matter how happy you think you are, she's a piss poor woman to you. I bet y'all have arguments about how masculine she is. I bet you have complaints about how she's not affectionate enough. I bet you don't like that when you tell her to do something, she objects. I bet she want to argue and she want to nitpick. I bet she insecure about you having female friends. I bet you probably got into that relationship without really getting to know the person first, but your relationship was likely horizontal with never any breaks in between it. So take a pause, because you can't fall into sexual temptation and redeem yourself in a relationship and be etched out and set aside. Listen, I'm not ignorant. But how did she get you? Are you really the man of your relationship? Because if you are under her authority in any way, shape, form, or fashion, And let me put an addendum on that. Sometimes the women, I've seen it, the man will go out, get the money, bring the money home to the woman. That's her running her house, her running the dynamics with what it is that her husband provides. Sometimes there are some areas where the woman steps in because she's better at this and better at that. But she cannot come in and take that authority. If you enter into a realm when a woman is authority and she has to sign over her rights to you, I'm going to let you know those things come with a clause. They come with a clause. There will be anger, shamelessness, and utter disgrace when a wife provides for her husband. There will be anger, shamelessness, and utter disgrace when a wife provides for her husband. I'm giving you Hebraic culture. And for the converts that decide to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, I'm not talking about what other people are supposed to do. It's not my business. It's not my business what goes in other people's home. But it's my business to get this law out, to get these words of wisdom out, to get the hierarchy out. When a man moves into a woman's house, he loses all his authority. I was having a conversation with Amore, telling him some of my desires, and I've always told my children that I don't want to own a home without being married. I want to be financially able to, but I don't want to buy a home without my husband. And I was talking to one of the brothers about some things and getting some education on some things. He had said, sis, I hope I don't say this wrong, but I hope you're not going to buy a house and you're not married. And I laughed and I listened and I told him, my thoughts. And I said, why you say that? He said, because it's masculine. What alpha male are you who gonna want to move into a woman's house? I said, oh no, if I had the money to have a home, it'd be, this is the home. This is the getaway. Now what are we gonna do together? This is something extra. This is what I've been doing too. But no. What are we going to do together? Because a man needs to etch out that land. So when we have modern women and this boss bee movement, and it's no hating, like when to see black women be able to do certain stuff for themselves, it's amazing. It's amazing and it's beautiful. It's the spirit in which things are done, the hows and the whys. Broken family dynamics, being forced to be interdependent, no husband, no man that's going to marry you because you're playing house with him, and then he may give you a ring out of obligation. Sometimes out of love, but if he was not ready, then why live? And I know we are under the impression that not everyone wants to be married, but then why live as a married person without the benefits? It's asinine. It's against our culture. And this is coming from somebody who oh goodness, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. I have my own apartment, my own child, right? I'm doing for me. And when you're being a debased woman, when you're being a wicked woman, you're going to attract wicked men. Now, you will have some instances when we begin to see a good wife in the Bible, Abigail. Abigail was a great wife and she was married to a wicked man. So I'm going to let you know there are situations for everything that could possibly come. But I was in wickedness. I was doing whatever I wanted to do when I met my son's father. Both of us PKs, prominent parents. So then I'm like, okay, let me slow down, let me relax. I'ma halfway get back to the Most High. You can't halfway do anything. He makes up a story to be able to say that he got kicked out. Now, as a woman, you let a man move in on you because he don't have provision. That's not holding him down. That's being stupid and being gullible. It's never your job to provide for a grown man that is not your husband, who does not have medical or financial, mental or emotional reasons. Ever. It's not. And anyone that tells you so, they don't believe in biblical order and biblical concept. So they don't deserve a traditional woman. Any man trying to convince you to hold him down and you do not have his last name, he is out of order. And for us women that have done it in any aspect, we have moved out of order. And it's masculine. And it's against who we're supposed to be. So no matter how much a man works, no matter how much he provides, if it is not his, it does not belong to him. So that man moved in on me. He was getting his checks and bringing them to me. He was doing all of that. But it wasn't his. And the moment he stepped outside of my rules and regulations, because I really don't believe in staying in relationships, and I've been cheated on. Even if I have an inkling, backed up by minimal proof. It don't have to be you laying down with somebody. Oh, you're texting this person and you're texting them back to back to back. Y'all have history. We don't need to be together. I don't need that. Some women, cheating isn't their deal breaker. I know what type of man I'm not gonna allow to cheat on me. And I'm not one that's gonna allow anyone. It's just we'll talk about that. But in that situation, I had the power, so you have to go. She still has the power. You do not allow yourself to place in a position as a man where a woman has any power over you. Sirach 25, verse 23. A wicked wife causes a humiliated heart, a gloomy face, and a wounded heart. Drooping hands and weakened knees come from a woman who doesn't make her husband happy. Let's talk about this. Some men were raised by what? Let me see before I say this. Before I say this, because, you know, I don't want people to say that I'm saying this. But we're going to learn today why women start being called the B word a certain way. This isn't me. This is thus said Yod Wave. Ecclesiasticus 26:25, book that was taken out, begins to say, a shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear Yod Wave. So some men were raised by women who have the attributes of being shameless women. And what are some attributes of a shameless woman? Let's see. So that we can begin to point it out. I've gone through this before. I'm going to just link these down below. Y'all see an evil wife is yoked shaking to and fro. She going every which way. She don't know how she want to feel about you. One day she love you and one day she hates you. One day you her king and one day you ain't good. And I know there's a such thing called reactive abuse. I've gone through it, which is how I began, other than studying for psychology, to educate myself on the aspects of the fact that narcissism and borderline personality disorder runs in a lot of these relationships, or dependent and codependent. We have to talk about it. And so when you see the ups and the downs of these toxic cycles, toxic relationships, there are some mental, emotional, and psychological deficits with both parties, because it takes two to tangle. And so it talks about a drunken woman and a gatter abroad causeth great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. Ladies, if you don't own up to your drunken, embarrassing nights, if you don't own up to times when you did yourself up just a little extra and you operate in the spirit of seduction, and I like to be done up. I like to be pretty. I like to be plain Jane sometimes too, with my sweatpants and my jerseys and all of that. I'm very versatile. We have to admit the times when we've operated in error. And if we don't, we'll continue with them 74 times 3 or times 4 generations. Proverbs 5 and 6, she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. So, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I am about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. Proverbs 7, 24 through 26. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray into her paths. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are mighty throne. Women, instead of pocket watching other women, what damage have you done with your box of alabaster that has turned into cod liver oil, causing premature birthings and eruptions, dislocating and disembodying the embryos that are supposed to be taking place on the inside of us generation to generation? But we consistently place our daughters on birth control at the age of 14 and expect them to become good girls and good wives and reproduce with their husbands, and they have problems getting pregnant. And this is the reason why a lot of women have babies late, not because they're working and worried about their careers. Let's talk about the medical field. We are not eating like Sarah. We are not doing praying and fasting during feast days like Hannah. We are not putting out libations and taking ritualistic baths and eating herbs and spices and praying to our power and our patron deity to reopen up our womb. We are using synthetic practices of science, of the ancient science that was used in the Garden of Eden amongst the Elohim. We are taking synthetic practices and listening to the spirit of the Nakash versus going back to the roots that we were supposed to work as an Afro-Asiatic people to heal our womb. What were we doing in Africa before the Caucasus Mountain Gentiles began to come and subjugate? How were we checking out our uterus and our wombs before the European doctors began to give us gynecology and probe on the inside of us? And this is coming from a woman that was diagnosed with cervical cancer, who, when I looked at the results myself and it was traveling up through my uterus, we have to begin to look into the fact that premarital sex, abortions, being violated, unclean food, your evil ways and dispositions will literally have your portal full of filth. And a lot of times we won't know until it shows up until 3 or 4 generations. Just because you, woman, are not suffering in your body right now does not mean that your mitochondrial DNA will not pass those traits down to your daughters and to your daughters and to your daughters or to your son's chromosome and begins to taint his seed. Do you not know that the seed of the man lives on the inside of you? What did it say about 5 days? Our bodies are portals of time that holds memory, DNA, souls. We actually have a chain of DNA that's broken. Oh, so much teaching that I could do. But I don't know if y'all gonna listen. I read. The Most High has blessed me with the ability to process. Now, if only we can apply holistically and totally. Proverbs 21:19, better to live in the desert than a quarrelsome and nagging wife. There's an instance, a couple of them in my life, where this woman, who I believe is mentally and emotionally ill, psychologically deficit, regardless of what job you hold and how you move around in life, when you enter into a situation that you were exited out of, not by force, not by happenstance, but by a clear and solid decision. As a woman, this is when you bow out. If you cannot admit as a woman that sometimes we force ourselves on men, force ourselves in situations, and eventually you just come back, whatever. Some men gonna hold their ground and just leave you alone. We have to admit it. We have to come clean. We have to purge and purify. That's repentance. Part of it. And so when you're exited out of a situation and then you wiggle your way back in and you place yourself at the base, at the bottom, and because that person allowed you in, you gain a pseudo complex of importance. And with the disrespect that you harbor for yourself, you lash that disrespect off onto what pre-existed you. See, I come to tell you as a woman that's done some things that she has no business doing. It was always and has always and will always be a reflection of how I felt about me. And how dare me in my most broken, deprecatory state come and lash that desperation and that septic, vile nature off onto another woman. Because I hate myself. I want the attention so bad. And so a lot of men end up in relationships. Let's talk about some Chicago stuff. It's the Sabbath, so we're going to keep it biblical. My daughter asked me to watch this interview with her, and it's a young lady who I do not subscribe to. My child does not subscribe to. We do not uphold at all. With G Herbo, he's from Chicago. We're from Chicago. Being from Chicago, more times than not, you tend to keep your ear to the street. And we know he's funny. Like, he's really funny. Um, and they began to have a conversation, and she asked him if he cheated on his child's mother, Ariana, with his new child's mother, Tiana. Now, this is celebrity stuff, and I don't use it to be malicious, gossipy. We're going to use these aspects to make it applicable to day-to-day life, because this is literally people's day-to-day lives. And I'm tying this into personal experience as well. The man came out and said, yes, people were painting Ari as a bitter baby mama. The story goes as such: they were together for a while. She was pregnant. They were good. He lost a friend. She was going through postpartum depression. They were not active. He begins to cheat on her with his now child's mother. So she entered the now child's mother, Tiana, who's the daughter of Emily and Fabulous. They have friction. The two women have friction. That a man allowed that side woman to come in being disrespectful because he did not respect himself in that moment. And he said that it was trauma. Carisha laughed at him and was like, oh, not the trauma. No. He said, what else did you want me to say? This is the truth. The man's in therapy. When people tell you that it's their trauma, that's not them making excuses. That's them actually showing you that they are evolving further than you even think. Because they're reworking those roots to realize, based on trauma, I flee to what soothes me. Women and alcohol soothe him. He stated that. Baby. And just because you could put in a cabinet don't mean that you have the same remedy, baby. And so, and this isn't any assertions about how he feels about anybody. Let's make that clear, because I really give 3/4 of a rat's behind. When you begin to look and you see that a lot of women like Tiana exist, and they come into situations and they assist in coming in between ready-made families, and they come in with some type of hierarchy and authority. I've been seeing it since I was a little girl, and I've experienced it first-handed. I've dealing with the repercussions of certain things that play out when it comes to children. So not only do men have to be careful with who they reproduce with and not marry, that wife, because people love other people baby daddies. Women are rushed to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th baby mama, because that man still holds value, because his seed's still good. Even if he don't provide for the ones outside of her household the way that he should, as long as her's taken care of, that's all that matters. These are the type of women that you need to be aware of, men who are hosting blended families. How is this woman going to have an aspect of your familiar dynamic? Is she going to come in and bring everything together even more because she represents you? A woman who loves a man wants everything around him to be cohesive. She creates that balance. And if that man is doing things to create incohesiveness, a lot of times it's delusion, because this is the same wave he's been riding on since the beginning. Men, beware of women who are rejoicing over the conviction of black men when evidence goes lacking. in all situations. These are the women that accuse you of doing something you've never done to them. These are the women that'll go after the closest person to you to get back at you. These are the women that'll set you up. These are the women that'll unalive you. These are the women that'll wring you out to dry. These are the women who will yield your children to demonic altars. They've replaced wisdom in the Bible with this, and we finna get out of here so that y'all can know. When you look at the word grove in the Bible, grove has a special meaning in Hebraic culture. Grove literally means Asherah, bridegroom's friend. That's the churches of Jesus Christ. No, Hebrew. You see, Asherah, Ashereth. It's an idol image. Canaanite deity. Begins to say that Asherah and her worship, which was seen in Judges 3 and 7, Judges 2 and 3, Judges 6 and 25, 1 King 18 and 19. And her symbol was that of wood in a grove. Wood. She was a Syrian goddess. Let's begin to look more into. We talked about her before. So she was worshipped in a grove. Her symbol was wood. I don't know what's up. And if it's continued to be denied, I mean, hey, Asherah is the queen of heaven, to whom the Canaanites burn offerings and poured libations. Jeremiah 44. Astarte was the goddess of war, sexual love, shared so many qualities with her sister, Anith. So these is the Trinity, you guys. Ashtoreth, Astarte, Aneth. And Aneth actually go back to Neat or Neth. It's a 3 female trinity. You also see a 3 female trinity in Islam. I've talked about this before. The Queen of Heaven was worshipped by cakes. Uh-oh. Asherah cake with your candles to your deities. I didn't put this out here. Sun and moon symbolism. See? Saffron crescent cakes for Asherah. We just link all of this down below. We're not gonna go too deep, but let's close it out by showing you fellas something else about how powerful the womb is. How powerful is the womb? Uh-oh. Placenta. Uterine cake, from Latin placenta, flat cake, because of the flat round shape of the afterbirth. Let's see what they began to do. Placenta. Oh, what do? Eating a placenta While some claim that placentophagy can present postpartum depression, reduce postpartum bleeding, improve mood, energy, and milk supply, and provide important micronutrients such as iron, there is no evidence that eating the placenta provides health benefits. This is cannibalism. Cain, Canaanite, religion. Let's see. Let's see. Who's worshipped in the grove? The grove. Odin. Y'all, I'm gonna let it go because this can get a lot deeper. Can get a lot deeper. And we just need to know that the grove, the wood that's holly or set aside, is used to worship the feminine essence and the feminine qualities of Asherah, not wisdom. And the more we flee away from wisdom, the more we go back to the religion of the Canaanites. So, fellas, remember that according to the book of Deuteronomy, it is not wise for kings to multiply wives or gold unto themselves. This is biblical. Because what did May say? More money, more problems. This is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back to view my channel. If you are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. For all of you, like this video, comment down below, share it, and put a warning out because our seeds are at stake. Food for thought.